I'm Dennis Anderson along with Karen Sunderman, and here's what's coming up now on Almanac North.
Duluth Zeitgeist is dubbed 2019 the Year of the Woman, with first quarter events focusing on the theme Woman in Activism. We'll dive into that topic tonight.
WDSE will premiere 2 new local documentaries next week. We'll bring you sneak previews of those programs tonight.
And we'll remember the amazing broadcast career of Lew Martin, the man known as the voice of Superior.
These stories and the business news next on Almanac North. Hello once again and welcome to Almanac North. Thank you very much for watching. This week's show was recorded on Wednesday so we can get our studio ready for WDSE's March Member Drive. And my good friend Karen Sunderman is here for Julie this week. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you, Dennis, for having me. It's always been a dream to do this.
Oh, it's great to have you here too, so let's get started.
All right. Well, thank you. The programming will highlight women's victories and challenges and more, coming to the Zeitgeist with a theme in 2019, the Year of the Woman. It has the letter X replacing the A to point out the exclusion of women throughout history. Here to tell us more is Madilyne Wegener, Marketing and Communications Director for the Zeitgeist, and Sara Rolfson is Zeitgeist Business Director. Thank you both for being here.
Thanks so much for having us. We're very excited to be here to talk about this.
It's an interesting time to have the Year of the Woman. So tell me a little bit about how that was picked and what you want to accomplish.
Yeah, so I think what's interesting is ideally every year would be a Year of the Woman, but given the national conversations that we've been having the last couple of years, we really wanted to bring that conversation to Duluth and have a chance to champion the wonderful women in our community. So that's kind of why we decided to make 2019 Year of the Woman, to be very intentional about what types of programming we're putting on in our building and putting on in our community.
So Sara, how is Zeitgeist involved?
Well, we're putting on the whole event. So the event is happening throughout all of Zeitgeist. So Zeitgeist building incorporates the Zeitgeist Arts Cafe, the Teatro Zaccone space, our performing arts space, as well as our cinema too. And so we're pulling out a little bit of all of the programming that we have to highlight the Year of the Woman in a few different ways.
And these will be, what, 4-time events this year?
There's actually quite a few events. Our main stage event, or our main focus event, is our Cocktails and Conversation, which the first one is coming up on Monday, March 4th. And that is highlighting women in activism. And so we're hosting Angela Davis from NPR, as well as Mayor Emily Larson. And it's just kind of a conversation about activism where we can have the community involved in that and get all of those women in a room to really feel empowered by these great leaders that we have in our community. And so it's a free event and it's open to the public. And it's also sponsored in part by Minnesota Public Radio. And so, yeah, we just want to get everybody out to talk more about that specific topic. And then we will have continuing cocktails and conversations throughout the year as well on different topics. And so our other topics for the other quarters, you can definitely talk about a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so our next quarter will be Women at Work. And then we're looking at women, identity, and self-care. And then we're closing out 2019 with women in the arts. So very fitting to Zeitgeist and the work that we do.
Do people need to sign up in advance to come?
No, I think that for Cocktails and Conversation, it will probably be first come, first serve. The event starts at 6. I would say that doors open probably around 5:30, 5:45. But nope, there's no need to sign up. But because it is a free event, if we end up having more than we can fit, it'll probably be first come, first serve.
One of the questions that came up was, is it for men or just for women, or how are you going about bridging some of those different demographics in the conversation?
Yeah, so we really wanted to make sure that this year was not only inclusive to all women, but that recognizing that these conversations and hearing women's stories and their perspectives is important for everyone in our community. It's a great conversation for everyone to have. Men and their sons, mothers and their daughters, neighbors, friends. It's really meant to be for everyone. So Cocktails and Conversations might be an event that's more women focused. But men are certainly welcome to come, and a lot of the other events that we're having are just events that are going to be fun. Some might be heavy, but either way, I think that everyone, no matter what their gender is or what they identify as, can really get something great to take away from them.
Do you have a sense of how you're going to measure impact? You know, what do you want to move the dial on? Is it encouraging more women to step up and become leaders, or what do you want to accomplish, and how will you know you've made it?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Great question. I think for the most part, we just want, women to feel like they're supported by other women, and, to like come out of this feeling empowered, and like we have a really great group of people around women and everybody in the community, and just highlighting that as something that's important in our community as well.
Yeah.
Woman is spelt with an X, not an A. Can you talk about that? Why is that?
Yeah, so we have I should have started by saying we have a great list of community partners and sponsors that we're working with, all of which are helping to serve on this kind of planning committee that we have together. So we have Blackbird Revolt, Feminist Action Collective, Hot Dish Militia, Trans Plus, Planned Parenthood of Duluth, and the UMD Gender, Women, and Sexuality Studies program. So all of these people are kind of coming together and bringing in their perspectives. And something they brought up is that it's really important for this year to be inclusive to all women and welcoming to all women, especially women who perhaps in previous feminist movements definitely have been kind of put aside or not included in those movements. So it actually is a global trend to put that X there. So we're not reinventing the wheel. It's a thing that you'll see across.
X meaning excluded?
Nope, X as kind of a gender neutral. Yeah, so not.
It's actually more inclusive. So X meaning that we're including all women in that.
Yes.
Whether it doesn't matter. Just
yeah.
How they identify.
Yep.
Yeah.
How they
So-
identify exactly.
Workplace, social, political, what kind of emphasis are you looking for?
I think the big thing will be all women. So that includes women of color, transgender women, women who still today and especially throughout history have been speaking about women's issues and have been at the forefront of these movements, but aren't always recognized for that. And so we wanted to make sure that we were very intentional with our language to recognize we are recognizing the work that these people are putting in, and we want them to be a part of this event. We want it to be inclusive and diverse.
What potential impact are you hoping for?
I think the big thing is to celebrate women and to have these conversations. I think it's important that as a community we recognize the great women who are having influence and who are in leadership positions. And I think that is really what it comes down to, is celebrating women and understanding where people are coming from, and hopefully learning something at the end of the year, understanding women a little bit deeper as a community.
Do you think there are intentional pieces to this program that will help build bridges between maybe a demographic that between age groups, between political, maybe you see the world a little bit different? Are there specific pieces of this that will help everyone kind of understand where they're coming from?
Yeah, I think we have a variety of events, and I think because of that variety, we'll hopefully kind of have a catch-all that there'll be something for everyone throughout the year. So our TED Talk program that we do, our TED in the Teatro, we're going to have 2 Year of the Woman specific events, and those pull from all different age groups. And so that one, I think, we'll have some new people come, and hopefully some of the people who come every month to the event will come. We also are Gig Me with a Spoon, curated by Madilyne Wright. We'll have a women-specific, and it will feature all sorts of women, community story share happening on April 14th. So I think by having such a diverse group of events, hopefully there will be something that everyone can find that they're interested in. So we'll have storytellers, conversations.
So it sounds like this is a great opportunity also to dialogue, not just sit and listen to speeches.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, yes. It's supposed to be a conversation that, we're just trying to start and get other people involved.
Yeah. So we actually have our Renegade Maid stage show outside Mullingar is a part of Year of the Woman, and we have a Year of the Woman specific talkback moderated by Krista Lawler from the DNT. And that will just be after the show on March 7th. People who attended the show can come and chat and talk.
Good.
Thank you very much for being here today, and good luck with a whole year of great programming.
Thank you so much.
Madilyne, Sara,
for
thank
having
you.
us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Beginning this weekend, WDSE will begin its March Member Drive, presenting a broadcast schedule filled with new programs. Now, 2 of those are locally produced documentaries, continuing the station's long tradition of preserving our region's history. Tonight, we have sneak peeks of the new documentaries, beginning with Minnesota's Lost Mining Towns.
On the Iron Range, everything was subject to move. Most of these locations you see on this map have already been mined out. Latonia, it's been here for a long time. Originally, it was up in here, then it moved over to here, and then this was the final resting place for the location itself. I had the fortunate opportunity to work for the Great Northern Trust. It would be Great Northern Iron Ore Properties. And in my position there, I did almost all of the cartography. I made the maps, you know, for the engineering department, for mine expansions. Over the years, I ended up researching just about every location across the range. Kitsville still exists. It's right next to the highway, right off of 169. But you can see there's Nassau, Red Ore, Mitchell, Nelson, Burton is down here, the Webb location. North Hibbing, this section here is gone.
Up the street from where I lived was Spruce Hill location, and that's actually a big hole in the ground now. And I remember there was Chicken Town on the way from West Duluth to Eveleth. There was a little location called Chicken Town, and that's gone. And even the road from West Duluth to Eveleth moved 3 times in my lifetime.
And that's the idea that all of us on the range have been brought up with. Nothing is permanent.
They built their lives there, they went to school there, they built their dreams on this town, and for whatever reason, mostly economic, the town just died and they left.
That meant that the housing was removed typically and then was brought to other parts of the range. So after a while, the location houses had a combination of the original houses and those that were moved from elsewhere.
If the house was worth it, they moved it. If it wasn't, they tore it down. In some cases, the mining company more or less told them to leave because they had to use the land for something else.
There was some notice given with maybe several weeks or months before they would have to move. But sometimes the company would actually make an effort to find another location or more housing for them.
Oh yes, my dad got transferred to different jobs, different mines, and to be closer to work. The mining superintendent, he would find a house for you and a location. They'd always try to manage to have a house vacant, so if they had some employee they wanted, they could move into it. We lived in the Kerr location. I was over in Hibbing, on the west end of Hibbing. And we lived the longest time in Morris location. I got drafted in 1940 from the Morris location to the Army. And during the war, they mined out the Morris location, so there was no more Morris location. They moved the houses out of there. So when I came out of the Army, I didn't even know where I lived. I went to a lady's house, and her name was Anna, and I knew her, and I knocked on the door, and here she came to the door. I didn't know she lived there. I said, "Hi, Anna." She's 40. I said, "Where do I live, Anna?" She said, 4 doors down. So that's how I knew. I didn't even know where I lived.
To move buildings was very common. There's a lot of people that made a living just moving houses.
During the summertime, 10, 11 years old, we'd go down and sit and watch them run them dollies out on them timbers in the basement, put the house down on it, and off they'd go.
But the big move was the North Hibbing move. That was the big move. But the Myers location was moved, the Webb, the Glen, Monroe, Fraser, all of them were moved.
Just about the whole Iron Range is moved at one time or another. The house I live in was moved from Penobscot location to 3rd Avenue East in Hibbing.
If you grew up here, you kind of know that, especially if you live on leased property, you have a pretty good understanding of what can happen.
I think life those days was a lot better, with a slower pace. There was no, I don't think we even had a key for a door in a house. No, nobody ever locked the door in a location, and everybody watched out for everybody.
I think in reality that's what lost towns are about, it's the people. You know, it's not so much the company or the mine, certainly that was the impetus for the town or the location or whatever, but it was the people.
You can see the premiere broadcast of Minnesota's Lost Mining Towns next Tuesday, March 5th at 7 p.m. right here on PBS North.
Well, also next week, our documentary Historic Trails in Northern Minnesota will have its premiere. The program follows the Gunflint Trail and the Mesabi Trail from their fascinating pasts to their multi-use modern uses. Here's a preview.
On the Iron Range, we sometimes have a little bit of a provincial attitude because we've got all these little towns. The one thing that's special and unique about the Mesabi Trail is it strings everybody together. So when right now we have about 135 miles complete. When totally done, it'll be 155 miles. And at that point, we will string together 28 little communities, from Grand Rapids to Ely, from the Mississippi to the Boundary Waters. And to be able to travel that whole trail, you actually pass through a lot of these little communities. So it brings resources, tourism dollars to those little communities, but it also makes people aware of the Iron Range and all of our wonderful little communities.
The actual trail that exists today that we know as the Mesabi Trail really began in 1986.
I think the name Gunflint Trail stimulates some thought of this must be something special. It has an appeal of pioneers, and I think that's got to be a reason for people wanting to come up here and find out what this is all about.
When I was a kid, I remember doing a road trip up there with my parents, and the concept of getting to the end of a road was not something that was in my mind, right? Like that you can drive and the road stops. And I remember being like 10 years old and asking my dad, I was like, well, like, why doesn't the road keep going? He's like, hey, it's the end of the road.
It's kind of interesting that people will drive 57 miles to get up here to find this place, you know. It's become a destination more than just a place to go fishing.
Well, it's time for the business news from the folks at Business North. Duluth-based Iconics Corporations returned to growth and profitability. There we go, in 2018. Sales by the imaging technology company grew by 6% last year to an $18.2 million. Earnings 7 cents per share. Now that's compared to 2017's loss of 11 cents per share. The Iconics Aerospace segment, AMS, led the 2018 sales growth with a sales increase of 139% over 2017.
A construction career night was held this week at the Deck. The event provided an opportunity for the public to experience a variety of construction careers through hands-on opportunities with local union apprenticeship programs. Duluth and the Northeast region are anticipating a significant need for skilled construction workers in the next few years. Many of those jobs pay well and often earn as you learn training opportunities. The City of Duluth is working with contractors, unions, and community partners to build pathways into these jobs, particularly for women and underrepresented populations.
A variety of electric vehicles and innovative energy-efficient design and construction techniques were showcased in Duluth this week. It was the 29th Annual Energy Design Conference and Expo at the Deck. Visitors were able to get behind the wheel of an electric vehicle and check out a range of electric transportation options. A Chevy Bolt was available for test drives in the Edmund Fitzgerald Hall, and other electric vehicles on display included a variety of Tesla models, a Nissan Leaf, and a Mitsubishi Outlander. A Duluth Transit Authority all-electric bus was also on display. For more on these stories and other stories, visit businessnorth.com.
Now, if you'd like to comment on our show, call now. Dial 218-788-2849 to leave a message, or send an email to almanacnorth@wdsc.org, and check out the WDSE website for news and information about the station, our latest program schedule, and special events coming up. Now, finally tonight, we remember the man known as the voice of Superior. Lew Martin passed away February 17th at the age of 102. Lew started his radio career in 1938 and was one of the first announcers hired by WDSM Radio when they went on the air in 1939. During a presentation at the Douglas County Historical Society in 2011, he talked about some of the highlights of his long broadcasting career.
I think I made $22.50 a week, but I lived in a brand new house and could walk to the station about 3-4 blocks away. One time I was there and there was a telephone would ring and wanted to know if we were being invaded by Martians on the East Coast, and I said, well, I didn't think so. So there was a pause maybe for 20 minutes and another call again, and I told them that I would go and check our news machine, and right while I stood there, bang, 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 it said that the people on the East Coast were being scared to death by Orson Welles' production of The War of the Worlds. Dion quintuplets, they came in and they had 5 ships at the Butler shipyards, and they had, it was a sideways launching of each one. And each of the little girls was going to launch a boat. Little girls were 7 years old at that time, and a lot of security. Each girl had a Canadian mounted policeman, not mounted, didn't have his horse, but they dedicated each ship, knocked a little bottle of champagne. My boss said to me, if you can get a picture of the call letters, and in not the Duluth paper, not the Superior paper, but in a foreign paper, well, I'll buy you the best hat in the city of Superior. We broadcast just from one tower, but I had credentials for all of them, so I climbed up on each tower, and whenever there was a picture being taken, I would hold up the microphone that had WDSM across the top. So he said, well, you can go and buy your hat. So my boss would always say after that, hey, look at him. That's Lew Martin. He works for me. He's got a better hat than I got. Found out that the Democratic Party was going to go down and get on the train with Harry Truman. And so as part of the radio station, I tagged along with him. And when he landed in Superior, he came out to the back platform. He had his wife's name was Bess. Basically, he just said, you know, Bess and I have been in that White House for a while now, and it's a pretty nice place, and we'd like to be there for another 4 years. And that's about what he said, and not much more. This was probably the last of the platform speeches, because this was 1948, and 4 years later, by 1952, well, you could be on TV and you could talk to more people in half an hour than you could talk on running around on a train.
And Lew also served 12 years on the Douglas County Board. What a life, the history that Lew Martin saw and reported on during his long career.
There's no better seat than being able to be a
Oh.
journalist, and what an incredible career he had.
I happened to work with him for about 5 years on old time radio in Superior on KUWS. What a gentleman.
Yeah.
Rich in history.
Yeah, with a nice hat.
with a wonderful hat. And a program note, we'll be off the next 2 weeks for the WDSE membership drive, returning on Friday, March the 22nd. For Karen and the crew at Almanac North, I'm Dennis Anderson. Have a great weekend. Good night, everybody, and be kind.